I have not filmed a video in such a long time that this feels really, really weird. Like, I don't really know what to think. It just seems really, really weird. I've been so busy recently. I've been working loads, and it's the Edinburgh Fringe right now, so it's a massive festival where I live. Everything's just been really, really busy and really crazy, so I've not managed to film a video recently. So today I thought I would film a video on something I've wanted to film a video on for such a long time. I've mentioned before quite a few times that I have OCD. I've had very, very severe OCD in the past. And I just kind of want to talk to you about it, talk to you about my story of OCD. OCD can be one of the most debilitating, horrific illnesses ever. I've been there, I've been at that point where it's just absolutely so severe. But I've also come out the other side of it, and I still have OCD, I still have relative OCD, but it's not nearly as severe. And so I think sharing my story with you might help some of you. Some of you might feel less alone, because I don't know anybody else in real life that suffers with OCD. I only know through YouTube videos, watching other YouTubers that suffer with OCD, that I'm not alone. So I thought if I could make somebody out there feel less alone in their OCD journeys, then it's worthwhile to make a video on. The main reason I've not really wanted to film a video on this is because I don't have much advice to give. OCD is such a difficult thing to give advice on, and so I didn't really want to make a video without having advice to give. But I think I have a couple of pieces of advice. I don't really know. It's hard to give advice on OCD because it's just so ingrained in your mind. When you have OCD, your thoughts are so powerful that it's difficult to kind of overcome. But I thought I'd just kind of talk to you about my story of OCD. So I first got OCD when I was in 4th year at school, so I was about 15, 16, something like that. It was very, very, very severe, and it came on very suddenly. I went to therapy when I was 16, and I had very, very bad anxiety, very, very bad panic disorder, so I decided to go to therapy. My therapist was absolutely appalling. I don't want to put anybody off going to therapy because I think it can be a really worthwhile thing to do, but I've just had really horrific experiences with therapy, which is kind of disappointing. I think basically what happened is she brought out a lot of emotions in me that I didn't really know were there, and so after the 12 sessions were up with her, I came out having just as bad anxiety and having a really, really severe OCD problem as well. I don't know if anybody else's OCD has come about like that, when they've just been, something has triggered in their mind, like something really deep in my mind must have been triggered, and I just had really, really, really severe OCD, and it was horrific and so bizarre because I didn't really know much about OCD. I didn't really know what was going on, but it was just these sudden, very severe thoughts, and I was just so confused and so distressed. So basically I left therapy. I was very, very unwell. I had this new illness that I knew nothing about, that I didn't even know I could have. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know that at the time that anxiety and OCD are linked, that OCD is a form of anxiety. So I was just having these horrific thoughts all the time and having to do these things. So for those of you that don't know, obsessive compulsive disorder is when you have a very obsessive, intrusive thought all the time, and in order to make sure that thought doesn't come true, you have to do something. So for me, my thought was, you're going to be sick, or your friends are going to fall out with you. Unless you do this, unless you text your friend 5 times, unless you stop walking on the cracks in the pavement, unless you choose different cutlery to eat your food with, unless you walk back and forth 5 times. There was just a million things that stemmed my anxiety. It kind of felt like it just came on overnight, and one day I was fine, and one day I didn't even really know properly what OCD was, and then the next day I had a very severe OCD problem, and it was very sudden, very confusing, and it would annoy people in my family, and that was something that was really difficult about it. So I would, in the middle of the night when I was going to the toilet, I'd have to really loudly click the bathroom light 5 times, and then lift the toilet seat up 5 times, and then wash my hands 5 times, and then turn the light off 5 times again. And so it kind of affected everybody around me's life. I would have to walk slower, I'd have to speak slower, I'd have to breathe in a certain way sometimes, and it was just very, very severe, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what was going on at all, and I was very confused and upset and anxious all the time. This lasted maybe, oh god, I think it lasted maybe a year or 2 of it being that severe, of it being just absolutely incredibly difficult. And it wasn't until I left school, I think, that I actually managed to start overcoming it, and I actually managed to say to myself, this isn't it can't carry on like this. If it carries on like this, I am just not going to be able to be here any longer. I'm not going to be able to cope. It's just insane, these horrific thoughts that come into your head. And for anybody that's never experienced anxiety or OCD or a phobia, think of your worst fear times 65 million and you're somewhere close to what it feels like. It's a very, very strong belief. So with OCD, everybody has this underlying phobia or underlying intrusive thought. It's different for everybody. Some people have really severe sexual thoughts, some people have really grotesque thoughts, religious thoughts, or just phobia thoughts. And every time one of these thoughts comes into your head, it will say something like, you will be sick unless you do this. And it's like a bully 24/7 in your head, and you can't get away from it because it's constantly there. And even when you take an anxiety day, even when you have a day off, even when you're chilling, doing nothing, it will still be there. That was the thing I found worst about it, because I think when you have just anxiety, generalised anxiety, you sometimes have moments where you're not anxious, which is great, and sometimes you can go a full day without being anxious. But when it's OCD, it is always there. There's no getting away from it, which is the hardest part. I think to overcome OCD, I literally just said, I'm going to have to stop. I'm just going to have to stop doing these actions, and there's no other way about it. Nobody else can really help me out because it's my brain. Nobody can really tell me to stop thinking them, because of course that's impossible. You're just going to have to stop the actions. Of course you can't stop the thoughts will keep coming into your head, but you're just going to have to stop the actions. I think you can do this in two ways. You can either gradually stop, you can stop doing certain actions and carry on doing some, or you can just go completely cold turkey and just stop doing any OCD actions. This seems basically impossible, and what you need to remember is if anybody else had the intrusive thoughts that you do, they would do the exact same. If your mum thought that you would die if she didn't do her OCD actions, she would do the same thing. She would do those actions to save you. I think if you're watching this video and you don't have OCD, you might not kind of 100% understand what I'm talking about. But if you're watching this and you do have OCD, you will say, okay, I totally understand what you mean. If my mum had these thoughts about me, or these thoughts about her biggest fear, she would do these actions as well. It's not because you're weird, it's not because you're strange, you're not wired any differently. It just so happens that your anxiety is so severe that your brain is using this coping mechanism to save yourself. That's what it is. OCD is a coping mechanism that your brain has created so that you can function. That's why to this day, I still have OCD. I still have OCD fairly regularly, but whenever there's a scary event coming up, my OCD gets worse. So if I know I'm going to have to travel a lot, if I know there's a big event coming up, if I know my parents aren't going to be home a day or something like that, my OCD will get really bad in the days leading up to it, because I'm scared that I will be sick when they're not here, or I'm scared that my friends will fall out with me, or whatever else. That's really the main effect that it still has on me. I still get anxiety and panic attacks and OCD, but my OCD tends to get worse when I'm going to do something scary. It's not as bad daily. Daily I have my actions that I have to do, and I have the rituals that I do, but they're kind of almost, I don't notice them anymore because they're so a part of my daily routine. They're just the way that I walk. But it's not as an intrusive thought anymore, and sometimes the intrusive thoughts will come in. Sometimes I still have to abide by what OCD says, but sometimes I can be strong enough to kind of push it to the back of my head and just say, that's not true. What your OCD is telling you isn't true. That's my main piece of advice that I can give. As I said, I don't really have many pieces of advice because all I can say is you need to try and stop the actions, but that is the worst piece of advice anybody could give you, because I don't know what your OCD is like, and your parents don't know what it's like to have OCD, and your friends don't know. The main piece of advice that I would give you is your OCD isn't real. That's something that the whole time I had OCD, nobody said that to me. That was something that I wish somebody had said to me, and I know it seems really obvious, and the reason people didn't say it to me is because they just thought deep down I knew my OCD wasn't real. But I really wish somebody had said to me, Emily, these thoughts that you're having, they're not going to come true. You're not going to be sick. All your friends aren't going to fight with you. It's not going to happen. It's just your mind being super, super anxious. And if somebody had said that to me, I think I would have thought twice, and I think I would have felt a bit better. I don't know if this video has been really rambly and if it's made any sense and if I've actually gone into much detail at all. I think I don't really know how to make videos anymore. I've not made a video for so long that this feels really weird, and I don't know if I'm doing it right anymore, but I just really want to share that with you, and I thought if I don't share it now, I'm just going to keep putting it off and just keep not making the video, and I might as well just do it now. So I hope this managed to help some of you. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!